You stare at your laptop screen. The cursor blinks. The deadline approaches. Yet your mind feels like thick fog, your body like lead. Everyone around you seems to move with purpose while you sit paralyzed, scrolling through your phone, watching. Other people live their lives. You call it laziness. Your parents called it laziness. Your teachers called it laziness. Society has 1,000 names for this feeling, but Carl Jung, the legendary Swiss psychiatrist who revolutionized our understanding of the human mind, discovered something that changes everything. What if you are not lazy at all? What if this crushing weight you carry, this inability to feel motivated about anything, this endless cycle of distraction and procrastination, is actually your soul crying out for something our modern world has systematically stripped away? Jung spent decades studying the human psyche, and his most disturbing discovery was not about individual mental illness, but about collective spiritual starvation. He found that millions of people suffer from what appears to be laziness, but is actually a profound hunger that no amount of productivity advice, motivational videos, or lifestyle changes can satisfy. The question that haunts us all is simple. Why do we feel so empty when we have so much? The answer will change how you see yourself forever. Walk through any city, scroll through any social media platform, sit in any office, and you will witness the same phenomenon. People with smartphones worth more than what kings owned centuries ago, with access to all human knowledge, with endless entertainment options, who still feel fundamentally empty. The statistics paint a terrifying picture. Depression rates have tripled in the last decade. Anxiety disorders affect nearly 40 million adults in America alone. Suicide rates continue climbing despite unprecedented access to mental health resources. Young people report feeling purposeless at record levels, even as they achieve academic and professional success their grandparents could only dream of. But these numbers only scratch the surface of something much deeper. Watch people in coffee shops, on public transport, in their own homes. They move through life like sleepwalkers, constantly reaching for their phones, buying things they do not need, starting projects they never finish, making plans they never follow through on. This is not a failure of willpower. This is not a character defect. This is not laziness. This is the symptom of a spiritual crisis so profound that most people cannot even name what they are missing. The more connected we become through technology, the more isolated we feel. The more information we consume, the less wisdom we possess. The more choices we have, the more paralyzed we become. Something essential has been lost, and until we understand what it is, we will continue to mistake the symptoms for the disease. Carl Jung saw this crisis coming almost a century ago, and his insights are more relevant today than ever before. Carl Gustav Jung was not just another therapist. He was a revolutionary who dared to peer into the deepest layers of human consciousness and emerged with truths that threaten the very foundations of modern society. Born in 1875, Jung lived through the transformation of the Western world from a spiritual, community-based culture to a mechanized, individualistic society. He watched as ancient traditions crumbled under the weight of industrialization, as sacred rituals were replaced by secular routines, as the mysterious and meaningful was explained away by science and rationality, while his contemporaries celebrated these changes as progress. Jung observed something disturbing in his patients. People who had achieved everything society told them to want still came to him with crushing emptiness, inexplicable anxiety, and a sense that life had no meaning. Jung called this phenomenon spiritual starvation, and he discovered that it was not an individual problem, but a collective one. He realized that modern civilization had created what he termed a collective shadow, a massive blind spot where society systematically ignores and suppresses the spiritual needs of its people. The collective shadow operates like this. Society promises that material success, rational thinking, and external achievements will bring fulfillment. When people discover these things leave them empty, they assume the problem is with them. They call themselves lazy, unmotivated, or defective, never realizing that they are actually responding normally to an abnormal situation. Jung understood that humans are not machines designed for productivity. We are spiritual beings with deep, psychological needs that cannot be met through external accomplishment alone. When these needs are ignored, the result is not laziness, but a form of spiritual malnutrition that manifests as depression, anxiety, addiction, and the very paralysis we mistake for lack of motivation. This discovery would reshape psychology forever, but its implications extend far beyond therapy. Jung had uncovered the hidden cost of modern life itself. Jung identified 4 critical areas where modern life systematically fails to nourish the human spirit, creating the conditions we mistake for laziness. The first pillar is meaninglessness. Most people spend their days performing tasks that feel disconnected from any larger purpose. They work jobs that exist only to generate profit for others, consume media that offers no real insight, and engage in activities that provide temporary pleasure but no lasting satisfaction. The human soul craves meaning the way the body craves food, and without it, we begin to shut down psychologically. The second pillar is the loss of ritual and tradition. For thousands of years, humans marked important transitions with ceremonies, celebrated seasons with festivals, and connected with the divine through established practices. These rituals provided structure, meaning, and a sense of connection to something larger than ourselves. Modern life has stripped away most of these practices, leaving us adrift in an endless sea of ordinary moments with no sense of the sacred. The third pillar is the suppression of the unconscious mind. Jung discovered that the unconscious is not just a repository of repressed memories, but a source of wisdom, creativity, and spiritual insight. Dreams, intuition, and imagination are the languages through which the unconscious communicates with us. But modern education and culture teach us to ignore these voices, to trust only rational thought and external authority. This cuts us off from our own inner guidance system. The fourth pillar is the absence of genuine community. Humans evolved in small tribes where everyone knew their role and felt essential to the group's survival. Today, most people feel replaceable. At work, anonymous in their neighborhoods, and disconnected from their families. Social media provides the illusion of connection while actually increasing isolation. Without authentic community, we lose the sense of belonging that is fundamental to human well-being. When these 4 pillars collapse, the result is not laziness, but spiritual starvation. People become unmotivated not because they lack willpower, but because their deeper needs remain unmet. They procrastinate not because they are weak, but because their souls are crying out for something more meaningful than the tasks society demands of them. Jung's most controversial insight was that spiritual starvation is not an accident. It is the inevitable result of systems that benefit from keeping people disconnected from their deeper selves and higher purposes. Consider the education system. From kindergarten through college, students are taught to memorize information, follow instructions, and compete for grades. Creativity, questioning, and inner exploration are discouraged. The message is clear. External validation matters more than internal wisdom. By the time students graduate, they have learned to ignore their own interests and intuition in favor of what others expect from them. The workplace continues this pattern. Most jobs require people to suppress their creativity, follow procedures, and prioritize efficiency over meaning. Employees are rewarded for compliance and punished for questioning the system. The result is a workforce of people who have learned to disconnect from their own desires and values. Consumer culture promises that happiness can be purchased. Every advertisement reinforces the message that you are incomplete without the right products, experiences, or lifestyle choices. This keeps people focused on external acquisition rather than internal development. The more people buy, the more they need to work, and the less time they have for spiritual reflection. Entertainment media serves as a constant distraction from inner work. Instead of facing the difficult questions about meaning and purpose, people can lose themselves in endless streams of content that provide temporary escape, but no lasting fulfillment. The genius of this system is that it creates its own demand. Spiritually starved people make perfect consumers and compliant workers. They are too exhausted and distracted to question the system that keeps them trapped. They blame themselves for their lack of motivation, rather than recognizing that their environment is designed to prevent the very thing they seek. This is not a conspiracy, but an emergent property of a culture that has lost touch with spiritual values. The result is a society of people who feel lazy when they are actually responding naturally to spiritual malnutrition. Jung did not just diagnose the problem. He provided a solution. His approach to spiritual renewal begins with what he called individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are rather than who society expects you to be. Individuation starts with recognizing that your lack of motivation might be your psyche's way of protecting you from meaningless activity. Instead of forcing yourself to be productive, begin by asking what truly matters to you. What activities make you lose track of time? What problems in the world genuinely concern you? What would you do if you knew you could not fail? The second step is reconnecting with your unconscious mind through dreams, creativity, and reflection. Keep a dream journal. Engage in artistic expression without worrying about the result. Spend time in nature without distractions. These practices help you access the wisdom and guidance that your rational mind cannot provide. The third step is creating personal rituals and finding meaning in daily life. This does not require religious belief, but it does require intention. Mark important moments with ceremony. Express gratitude regularly. Find ways to connect your daily activities to larger purposes. Even mundane tasks can become meaningful when approached with the right mindset. The fourth step is building authentic community. Seek out people who share your values and interests. Engage in activities that contribute to something larger than yourself. Find ways to use your unique gifts in service of others. Genuine connection is essential for spiritual health. Jung emphasized that this work cannot be done quickly or easily. Spiritual renewal requires patience, courage, and commitment. But the alternative is to remain trapped in the cycle of spiritual starvation that masquerades as laziness. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are not defective. You are spiritually starving in a culture that has forgotten how to nourish the human soul. That crushing feeling you carry, that inability to feel motivated about things that do not matter to you, that resistance to meaningless activity is not a bug in your system. It is a feature. It is your psyche's way of protecting you from wasting your life on things that will never satisfy your deeper needs. Jung discovered that what we call laziness is often the soul's refusal to participate in its own destruction. Your lack of motivation for meaningless tasks is actually a sign of psychological health. Your procrastination on projects that do not align with your values is actually your inner wisdom trying to guide you towards something better. The real work is not learning to be more productive. The real work is learning to distinguish between the voice of society and the voice of your own soul. The real work is developing the courage to live according to your deepest values rather than external expectations. The real work is spiritual renewal in a world that has forgotten what the spirit needs. This work is urgent because time is limited and the culture of spiritual starvation grows stronger every day. Every moment you spend trying to fix your supposed laziness is a moment you could spend discovering what you are truly meant to do. Your soul is not asking you to be more productive. It is asking you to be more alive. The choice is yours, but the time is now.